Before we start this video, I do want to say a couple things. BladeBound will be at Gen Con this year. I myself will be GMing games with Darrington Press at Envoy on Thursdays and Fridays, and AJ will be attending as a regular attendee. So if you plan on being at Gen Con, please let us know down in the comments below, or hop on our Discord and join the Gen Con thread. We'd love to meet you and thank you for your support. And second, this episode of Duality was recorded prior to the launch of Daggerheart, so the armor system had not changed by that point. So when you see us in combat, referring to armor and reducing it by a number, that's why, because we used the old rules. And with that being said, let's jump into this episode of Duality.
Welcome to BladeBound Saga.
Welcome to Duality, a Daggerheart community podcast where we bring together creators, influencers, and storytellers within the Daggerheart space. This series is about exploring the heart of the game by connecting it to the people who bring it to life. I'm Daniel, otherwise known as Rice Combo Online, your host, and this show is proudly brought to you by BladeBound Saga. And in today's episode, we are diving into the first episode of the series, where our guests will create a Daggerheart character inspired by their real life. In each episode of Duality, we invite a special guest to create a Daggerheart character based on their real-life self. Together, we'll explore their choices, traits, and experiences, building a character that represents their own journey. However, what makes Duality stand out is that our guests will also face an encounter where they'll use the character they made to battle an adversary at the end of the episode. Along the way, we'll roll Duality Dice to answer questions about their stories of triumph and struggle through what we know in Daggerheart as hope and fear. So please join me in welcoming today's guest. You all know him, AJ.
Hope, fear. You roll the dice. Duality.
AJ, it's great to have you, as you all have been on the channel before, because you make content on BladeBound. Before we dive into really kind of character creation and your character sheet that you've created for us, just let us know a little bit about yourself a little more and how, I guess, you got in, or how you got introduced to Daggerheart for the first time.
Yeah. Hey, well, first off, I'm AJ, also Professor Bulk online. I know you guys have seen me a bunch because kind of me and Daniel do BladeBound together. But yeah, so I've been playing. So first off, I played video games all my whole life since I was, 6, 7, whatever, 20 years now. Playing games like Skyrim, growing up on games like Ratchet and Clank, your Jack and Daxter, your RPG style sort of games. Started out with D&D probably about close to 10 years, I think, of playing D&D. We've been playing pretty regularly. Me and Daniel have played D&D together for all those years essentially. And then Daggerheart came out last year, or the beta came out last year, 2 years ago, whatever it is now. And for me, Daggerheart kind of hits the niche a little bit better for me, of really kind of being able to do what I want in a game. It's like very much more sandboxy. It doesn't allows me as a character to really have influence into the world, as opposed to just playing through a storyline. So that's why Daggerheart for me is honestly, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I'm super excited for it to fully release. And I've just been a giant nerd my whole life, and between video games and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and, all Star Wars, all that. And so it's kind of a way to bring all these different fantasies of my childhood and then allowing them to create my own stories and then be able to live those out in a game setting. So that's my big appeal for when it comes to Daggerheart.
Yeah, I know we've spent so much time and basically our whole tabletop RPG journey together. So I know a lot more about you than the audience. So I definitely really am excited about this series to see, to let people know a little bit more about you, or to let people know who you are. So yeah, let's kind of dive into this. So the purpose of Duality is we're taking the character sheet that's supposed to be based off of who you are in real life or how you perceive yourself. I'm interested to kind of talk about the background. I noticed you picked Wanderborn. Can you give me a little insight as to why you are a Wanderborn at heart?
Yeah, and I would preface it saying that I probably was a Wanderborn early on, and then I've just held onto those traits as I've kind of feel like I've now settled in life. But I grew up in California, which now I live in Georgia, so just that trek alone is a Wanderborn.
All the way across.
All the way across, about as far as you can get in the United States. And then early on, up in my early 20s, we spent a lot of time traveling different places. I mean, I've been to, I think, 30 of the 50 states in the US. I've been to multiple different countries. I've been to Germany. I've been to Africa. I've done different trips to different places and experienced a lot of different cultures and all that. So I feel like Wanderborn allows me to kind of piggyback off of that. It's like, oh, I remember what this person does or this culture does, and how can I implement that into my own life now? And so it's kind of using a bunch of different life experiences for maybe just the one random thing that happens in life that I might need it. I think one of them is super funny, super random in my life. Like I don't wear shoes in my house. And I picked that up from honestly kind of having a lot of Asian friends growing up, and that's their culture. And it kind of just developed into my own, into my own life. So just kind of a random thing that I'm just a bunch of pieces I picked together here and there and then have amalgamated into me.
Yeah, no, I can totally get with that. So that's interesting. Just how much movement you've had. I think a lot of people, interestingly enough, as much as everyone wants to travel, it's always a lot of people haven't seen most of continental United States.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's also hard. It's not, it's super fun, but it's also super challenging because I did most of that in a 15 passenger van with 10 other people. So it's not as glamorous as it looks.
Yeah, no, for sure. I am interested here for this next part here. You picked a mixed ancestry. So for those who are not unaware in Daggerheart, if you don't have one specific ancestry like the elf or the dwarf or the fungrel or the ribbit that really speak to you, you can mix and match different ancestries and then kind of come up with a custom version. Explain to me why you chose what you chose and what they're a mix of and why it's you.
So I chose a mix of Fearbolg and Giants. Fearbolgs are already big as normal. And I picked Fearbolg because they have like this sense of like calm and of like being able to basically stay stress free. They're very much so a person you kind of gravitate towards because of that sort of calming nature, I guess you can call it. And I feel like I kind of have that presence about me. I work in a pretty stressful job. I'm a firefighter. And one of the things that I've learned is how to stay calm in very stressful situations. And I think that's probably one of my better traits is the ability to not freak out. Because I think if you freak out in any sort of stressful situation, that's kind of you're already on a losing foot. So for me, I picked the Fearbolg trait that I picked is natural calm.
Yeah.
For that to basically kind of make that note of, hey, this is stressful, but I can't be the one to stress out because that's other people are stressing out. I need to be the one to stay calm and hopefully try to figure out what needs to happen.
No, that makes sense. Knowing you, that makes total sense. And then mixing it with Giant, which part of the Giant did you pick?
So I picked Giant. I picked Reach just for my physical stature. I'm 6'4" and 300 pounds. So I just am naturally a giant person. And so I just picked Reach as a way to kind of, hey, I'd like to like things that I can do, not everyone can do because I just
Yeah.
am physically different than people. But also, I'm not the person to crawl into a small hole or to try to get into the space or to really sneak around for that matter. Um, I'm big and noticeable, so and I lean into that.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes sense. And then last part for any Daggerheart character is the class and subclass. I saw this coming. I think this is very fitting considering. But why did you pick Guardian and specifically Stalwart Guardian for
Yeah.
those at home?
Yeah, I mean, I had a toss up between a couple things. I thought about going not what's the other one? There's Guardian
Seraph Warrior.
Seraph. I did think about going Seraph. I thought about Warrior for a second. I think Guardian kind of fits more me personally because that's just kind of that's I like as much as I want to do all the cool things, right? Especially when it comes to games, like I want to be the guy. I like doing big damage and I like doing super cool theatrical moments and having the cool RP. I really also enjoy supporting others into getting that. I'd love to talk people up. I want everyone to have as good a time as I'm having, and I think Guardian kind of fits that for me. For one, wanting to boost people up to also do the best that they can, and also I've kind of just in life have learned to take a lot of the brunt of things, and maybe to a fault, maybe it's a little bit of a fault of mine, but I kind of just developed that sort of let me take the damage so you can do what we need to do. um like I feel like that's my place. It's like if I can hold this onto my shoulders, that allows the next person to be able to move or be able to do what they need to do less encumbered.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I see that all the time.
Mhm.
One at the table, but also in real life. So we've gone over our background. So this brings us to the first duality roll of the night. So I'm going to need you to roll a
Okay.
duality die for me.
Duality die. Don't worry, guys. I'm totally prepared. D12. D12. Yeah. Okay. That is a 8, 3, 11 with hope.
11 with hope. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the question I have for you: who is a person in your life who you are just extremely grateful to know from your specifically from your community, like from your background, from someone that has just meant a lot to you that you are just glad that you know.
That's tough, man. So just one? Just one?
Just one specific person that like sticks out to you. This could be anyone, a friend.
Uh, I think like one part of me wants to be like our friend group in general. I've definitely been through, it's been super tight knit. We've been friends, being basically best friends for 10 years, right? But if I'm gonna choose one, I have to pick my sister. She still lives out in California. She's my older sister, and we went through a lot together as kids, and we basically kind of raised ourselves a lot of the time. And so for her, like I would choose her just because she's the strongest person I know. She's helped me through a lot of my own personal things, and she's always there. She's super not judgmental. She's always willing to hear all the crazy stuff that I have going on, and vice versa. And so she's kind of taken on a lot of the um, not a parental role, but definitely like a I don't know mentor, maybe I guess would be the word. Uh, and so and I know it's tough for her because we're only 2 years apart, and for her to take on that role for me has really meant a lot. It's really helped me through my life. So definitely be my older sister.
Yeah, that's awesome. As a older brother person myself, I think my siblings, regardless of how far they are,
Mm-hmm.
it's I will do anything and will go to you for everything,
Mm-hmm.
um, no matter how apart or how long it's been
Yeah.
since we've had a conversation. I'm I'm glad, and I think within our friend group, it's always I'm here, I'm hanging out with the boys, and if
Mm-hmm.
not, it's the only other time that I think I ever hear you doing anything else is probably with your sister. Not
Probably.
any
Yeah.
notable people other than that.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move into our next section, which we kind of talk about the traits. I do have these make sense to me, but explain to me why you picked a +4 to your strength.
um. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm a generally large person, and I lean into that. I do work out and I do kind of take pride in my strength, if that makes sense. Um, so it's kind of the thing I've probably focused on the most, especially as an adult. Um, I, yeah, that's just kind of the thing that for me is fun. Also, I like being strong. I like being able to move things and to do things. And really, it also comes from a point of like laziness. I'll work really hard early to be lazy later. And I've just chosen strength. Like, oh, hey, we need stuff moved. Yeah, I'm not making 5 trips back and forth from my car to unload groceries. It's all coming in one. I don't care if there's 10 gallons of milk. It's coming with me on the first try. Um, so yeah, I think just as an adult, the thing I've focused on the most and have grown the most out of these traits would be strength. So that's
Yeah.
kind of why I chose that.
Which then brings me to asking the question, why is your only negative modifier in finesse?
I got bear paws as hands. Okay. They're not made to tinker. Um, it's just, it's, I'm my dad used to say it like, you're a carpenter. You're not a finisher. Like I build frames and I do rough work and I lift the big things. I'm not the one who's going to go paint the final touches on stuff. I'm not the one who's looking at the detail. Also, I just have terrible attention to detail anyway. So, so that's why finesse is the lowest. I'm just like, that's someone else's job.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, I remember the first time you were building your PC, moving from a laptop to a PC, and I remember telling you, it's like, oh, you just need to do this, this, and this, and you sat there, it's like, how? How am I supposed to get in there?
Yeah, it's like my hand doesn't fit. I ended up having to buy a stupid extra long screwdriver just so I could do it.
That's
it was
hilarious.
Ridiculous. So.
Oh man. All right. So before we move into experiences, give me another duality roll.
Yeah. All right. That is a. Did I just roll another 13? Did I roll 13? I did.
You rolled 11 last time.
Okay. Well, this is a 13 with hope.
With hope. Okay, so make sure you're adding that hope. So those last 2 hope, be sure to add those. So that will dive into the end of our session where you'll have a pool of dice to use.
Okay.
13 with hope. What is your most memorable moment at the gaming table? I know there's a lot. That's 10 years.
That's a lot. Okay, I may rattle off a couple. I'll keep them short.
Go for it.
So I think one is definitely, I think it might have been our second Daggerheart campaign. I was actually playing Guardian. I was playing Arthur Shelby. I was playing the Galapa Guardian. And
who, by the way, my son absolutely talks about Arthur Shelby all the time. Anyways.
Yeah. So he's a Galapa Guardian. And in the final fight, we had one character bounce back and forth between death like 3 times, staying up. And then we had one character go down. And Arthur just kind of took it upon himself. It's like, look, this has to end. This has to end now. So essentially, I tackled the BBEG into the abyss, and that's where he now lies. Yeah. So that's definitely one of them. I think, honestly, a lot of the role play in our current D&D campaign with I have a cleric named Azul, and he's a cleric of the Moon Weaver. I think dealing with all that is actually weirdly beneficial to my own life and my own spiritual journey, if that makes sense. Because it was someone who didn't expect to be dealing with a god in any way, shape, or form. It just kind of happened. And so it's like I'm using that as a way to, I guess, express what I'm also going through, but express it in a different form. And so I think, we'll use those two. I think those are good. Yeah. Those are probably the most memorable ones I can think of right now. I'm sure there's a ton more.
There's always a catharsis when you build a character and realize, oh wait, that's me. That's me. I built that. Oh yeah, that's somehow bleeding into my character. Yeah. Cool.
Totally unintentional too.
Yeah, which happens more often than not.
Oh yeah.
So jump beginning experiences. Explain to me your experiences that you chose, and then why you chose them.
Okay. So my first 2 experiences, one is more agile than I look. I don't think I touched this beginner. So I was I played sports all my life growing up. I mean, I played football, basketball, I played baseball, I wrestled, I ran track and field, I threw shot put, I did basically anything that you could do as a child, sports wise. I did that. I just love sports. I love the whole idea of sports, and kind of through that, you don't just get strong, you also get athletic. And unfortunately, I've lost some of my athleticism as my years go, but that's okay. We're working on that. No body shaming here. But
We all have.
yeah. But it's just, I've always just been faster than most people would think. Like I said, I'm 6'4", and I'm a large person. But I can still keep up with the skinny guys for a little bit, not very long. But in a sprint, I might be able to catch someone. So I chose that because it's just,
which is scary with how large you are.
I mean, you probably know. I mean, we used to play
Ultimate Frisbee back in college, and I would be running down, and AJ would be running after me, going for the same Frisbee. I was terrified. It took me at least like a year before I realized I can probably like fight him for this.
Yeah. And I would never intentionally hurt you. So intentionally doesn't mean it didn't happen accidentally to some people. It's fine. So that's why I chose more agile than I look. And then my second experience, at least on the beginning, is I see through you. I feel like I've learned a little bit about reading people, and just kind of through my own life, and just seeing shady experiences that I've seen personally or that I've gone through personally. And so I take a lot of time to try to learn people's true intentions and things. And so I chose I See Through You really more so as a way to try to pick up on that. That's maybe a lot, maybe my own trust issues that I'm dealing with, but hey, that's it is what it is. I use that as a way to really just try to be like, hey, I get it. I see you, but what are you really asking for? What are you really what's your goal? And so before I put all my eggs in this basket.
Yeah. And then I see that your next one is food can bring us together, which I will say amen to 100%. Explain to me that one.
So food is the unofficial like sixth love language or whatever it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so that's something I've developed over the years. Like my whole feed of social media is food, funny dog videos, and video games and or TTRPG stuff. That's all I watch. And so I'm always looking up new recipes. I'm always doing, watching knife skills and how do you cook this? How do you, smoke a brisket? Stuff like that. That's just something I've used as a way to show love to other people, is just trying to cook the best food I can. Plus it's just something I enjoy. So I really enjoy cooking, and that also always pops up in every one of the characters I build for some reason. My character's always a chef. But yeah, that's just, for me, that's just a way that I show love to people, is by not just like, oh, let's order pizza. Like, hey, let's freaking make a pizza. Like, let's do something extra for someone, because like I want people to experience cool things, and it shows them, hey, I'm taking this time because I want you to have this awesome experience. So
yeah, I have a feeling we need to make a Beast Feast campaign for our group, for our home group.
That would be so fun. I'm really sad I can't be in this one that you're running right now.
No, we'll definitely have to run it. Yeah. And then last one I see is Intimidating Presence, which is definitely different from the other three that you've done so far. So explain this one.
So this is, I'm generally, I like to think I'm generally a pretty nice person and pretty easy to get along with. I'm pretty easygoing. I can talk to basically anyone, all this stuff. But Intimidating Presence is there for the, hopefully never, but the few times where it has to come up where I need to use it. I don't like being big and scary, but if I have to, I can.
Yeah.
And I know I'm already an imposing figure, so it's a little bit more terrifying when I impose myself onto someone. Mm-hmm. And I know that, so I don't do it in everyday life, but when I need to, it's there.
Yeah. Love it. All right, that's all for the experiences you have. So
Mm.
that means it brings us to another duality roll.
All right. Nope. I've rolled one on each of my fear dice, so I'm just racking up hope. That's a
Yeah,
9 with hope, though.
9 with hope. All right.
Mm.
What fictional character do you find you yourself have connected with deeply, like on a more deeper level?
Fictional character that
Yeah,
I've.
like maybe it's like someone who, like you absolutely just resonate with their story, or someone that you see
Mhm.
yourself in, or just someone that you're just an incredible fan with, even if it doesn't completely reflect
Yeah,
who you
yeah.
are.
I think the first that comes to mind is the Incredible Hulk. Um, he's been my favorite comic book hero since I could read and read
Yeah,
comics. Um, it's the story of do I don't want to be this guy. I don't want to be the big scary monster. Um, so it's like that constant struggle of I'm just trying to be a normal person, which I think I struggled with as a kid as well. I was taller than my fourth grade teacher, and it's just it's a weird thing to deal with as a 10-year-old. It's when I first realized I am actually a really large person. So I think the story of that, like basically going from I don't want to be the Hulk because, or Bruce Banner doesn't want to be the Hulk because of XYZ happens. And then later on, he learns to accept that and who he is and, and learns to use it for good. So that's a story that resonates with me. I also like Beast from the X-Men, um, who just fully embraced who he is. He's blue. He's this crazy looking hairy beast. But he never lets that stop him from doing. He's a diplomat. He's a scientist. He does all this other stuff, and so it's also another inspiring thing. It's like you're not just one thing. You can do whatever you want. Um, Even though physically you're built this way, you can choose to dive your focuses all that into whatever you want to be. You kind of can make your own destiny if you want to. So those two for sure are ones that I, growing up and still today, really resonate with.
yeah, that's cool. I think that's information that I didn't know, which
Mm,
is really cool. Even as we've known each other for so long,
mm,
that's awesome, and that's really cool, and that all makes sense.
mm.
Yeah, so let's go to our last segment before the encounter, which is your domain effects. In Daggerheart, we all have domain effects that, as you continue to level your character, you select and pick. I'm curious as to like why you picked this, and like if you were a character in a fantasy universe, why these are tools in your arsenal. So,
Mm-hmm.
what was the first one that you picked?
So the first one I have is Forceful Push. It's where you make an attack in melee. You can spend a hope and you can push someone out of range. I chose this as a way to one, not only give myself space but also other people. Um, so like if being jumped by the big guy, like hey, he's not going after me because I'm also bad guys don't ever want to fight people the same size. So if they're jumping on the little characters, that's my way of hey, back off, mother effer. That's not for you. Um, so yeah, I picked that one. My next one is Whirlwind, which is you can mark everyone in range, and that's for me that's a efficiency thing. Um, if I can attack one, why not attack them all?
Yeah, if you can bring one bag from the grocery
Yeah,
store, then bring them all.
bring them all. There you go. Body Basher is a little self-explanatory. That's just to throw my weight around and to use that against other people. Goad them on. I picked this one as another way to basically bring focus off of the teammates because I take on the role of hey, look at me and attack me because I can take it, but really I'm just relying on the people I trust to also do their job of hey, the enemy's distracted. Now is my chance to do this big, uh, this big thing of damage or whatever needs to get done. Um, so, and then I took Versatile Fighter as my last one. And this is where basically you can use any trait for a weapon. and I actually chose a finesse weapon originally. I chose a spear. So I chose a spear and I chose a shield, and I wanted to use Versatile Fighter 1 so I could actually use it, and 2, the idea of a spear and a shield. That's kind of like that's what I think is probably top tier of melee weapons. You have reach, you have slash, you have protection. Very very Spartan-esque, sort of like I'm gonna be the phalanx of the team. So if I can be the phalanx, that means other people can do what they need to do. They can be the flankers, they can be the spellcasters, stuff like that. So
Yeah. All right. So that brings us to our last duality roll before I explain the last section of our episode.
there you go. There's one. That's a 17 with fear.
Okay, I will add my first fear from that. So, if any game system, whether it be Daggerheart, 5th edition D&D, or any other tabletop RPG that you've played before, is there a game mechanic that you just find for you, or rule, that you just find very frustrating?
Yeah, I think D&D, the fact that everything has to happen in 6 seconds, like story-wise on your turn, that just feels super strange. I mean, how am I supposed to talk and say, oh, I just did this whole monologue, but it was only in 6 seconds, right? And that's how you get things like the peasant rail cannon. Have you ever heard that?
No. Explain Pleasant Rail Cannon to me now.
So the peasant rail cannon in D&D 5e is where it's so stupid, but you hire 2,000 peasants, and there's a whole math equation to it. I'm not gonna go into that, but basically you have every peasant take the help action except for the very last one. Then the very last one is holding like a small cannonball, whatever. It's just an object. So, and then that last peasant passes the object to the one in front of it, and since all of them are holding the help action
or the readied action,
all the readied actions, that is going from in 6 seconds, 2,000 passes of this object is being made. So then there's the whole math equation of, well, how fast is that going then if it's going this distance in 6 seconds? And like
that's what, 5 feet times 2,000, 10,000 feet, right?
You're moving 10,000 feet or whatever.
Yeah, 10,000 feet
in 6 seconds. So the speed that has to be passed at is, faster than a bullet. So essentially you're creating this one-shot machine, whatever, with, just 2,000 peasants and an object. So it's stuff like that.
So
I'm just
dumb.
like, it's so dumb. And like, it's funny. Like, yeah, it's cool if you can use that, but I'm just like, come on, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I think the math turns out to like 300 d6 of damage in this one move. I'm just like, that's not the power fantasy I want.
Yeah. No, and I think that's why in our home games we've kind of got rid of the 6-second narrative rule. Well, mechanically, any spells that would last 1 minute would still last a total of 10 rounds.
Yeah.
Narratively, if you want to have a conversation with your allies or the enemy you're facing, you totally can. Which I found has just that alone has allowed a lot more RP, at least at our table.
Yeah, yeah. It takes away from it's just a constraint that I feel like didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
With that concludes kind of like our interview portion. We're going to now dive into an encounter. So the character that you've created, AJ, will now go into, or will jump into a scenario, a scene, if you will, where there likely will be an adversary that you face. The hope that you've accrued and the fear that I've accrued will apply into the scene. And with that being said, are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Hope, fear, hope, fear, hope, fear, terror!
You find yourself currently walking down a dark forest. You've accepted a quest recently where you are to escort a companion across, bringing him to safety back to their home. Though the forest itself is filled with creatures that plague on one's mind. Describe to me the individual that is currently traveling with you. What do they look like, and why are you here to protect them?
Yeah, being escort, it's a halfling figure. A little bit elderly, but very regal dressed. You can see he kind of has like almost like a priest hat. And he was a diplomat that was in our town to try to broker some peace between these two towns. And I've been tasked with the job of escorting him back home after pretty successful negotiations. So I've just been tasked as a part to make sure he gets home safe. And yeah, so that's where we're heading back to his hometown.
At the moment, the winds just howl. The sky, full lit moonlight above you as the clouds continue to pass, covering the sun, or covering the moon. It's at this moment you hear just kind of snapping of twigs. Though you can't tell whether it's right, left, or behind. As your companion, this diplomat, just says, "What was that?"
I'm not sure. Stay behind me. Let me go out and take a look.
He easily just kind of begins cowering a little bit behind you. As you begin kind of stepping forward to look around, go ahead and make an instinct roll for me.
That is a 8 with fear.
Okay, I'll take it. Unbeknownst to you, you take a step looking forward, and then you just hear the individual behind you scream, "Ah!" as you see them kind of drop to the floor. Something has just like moved right behind you, just in the space between you at this point, not even moving any further than close range, just swipes across as your companion looks hurt at this point.
Okay.
Looking around, it's still fairly dark, but you run up to them.
Yeah. Did you see it? What happened? What's going on?
As you kind of see and notice that there's like a little mark on his chest, and he begins to kind of have a little bit of blood that continues. It's like one slash mark.
Mm-hmm. I will take out my nomadic pack, and I'm going to grab a type of moss that seems to be a little bit squishier, and I'm just say, hey, hold pressure here. This is going to help stop the bleed.
Yeah. Doing that, having him, he holds it, kind of listening to you as you've been watching over him for the portion of this journey. You take a more defensive position as you hear a voice, as I spend a fear. You hear, "This is my woods. Leave." I need you to make a presence reaction roll for me.
Presence reaction roll.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad. That is a 14 with hope.
14 with hope. Go ahead and add that hope. Or, no, sorry, it's a reaction.
Oh, no,
roll.
sorry, no hope.
So,
no hope.
No hope. So it's a 14. With that, you just feel your mind just kind of reel. Something wishes to pull at your greatest fear, to essentially try to stun you. Describe to me what your greatest fear is.
Yeah, I think that he starts to see images of, his friends, his tight-knit group, and his family kind of all start to like reel away, almost start to envelop in like ash, to kind of like this point of there's nothing that you can do to prevent this happening.
Yeah. The creature at this point then I'm going to spend one more fear, and is going to make an attack towards you. You are now marked as vulnerable. Dealing with your own fear as this creature makes an attack roll towards you. That's going to be does a 15 hit?
Yes.
15. So with that, there's going to be a total of 14 points of physical damage to you.
Okay. Is that double? No, vulnerable means advantage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 14 points.
14 points.
I'll mark an armor and take 0.
Bring your shield up to kind of block a little bit of your shield gets kind of pushed to the side. This creature's strength is much larger than yours, as what revealed to you looks to be this creature of the night, furred with one large major talon along the side of its arms. so it's able to grasp a hold of you and pull your shield down before slashing at you. Its fangs large with this gnarled underbite, and its hair almost scouring backwards with this kind of matted, almost dreaded hair. In retaliation, what do you do?
Okay, I will. First, I'll use Unstoppable, which will give me resistances, add to my armor score, stuff like that. So I have. Yes, yeah. So I'm gonna pop Unstoppable, and I see this thing in front of me. I'm just going to go ahead and make an attack roll.
Yeah, go for it. Make the attack roll at it.
And I'll use. Actually, I think I'd wait till I hit first to see what I use. Okay, that is a 17 with fear.
17 with fear. I'll take the fear, but that will hit.
I'm going to use a forceful push on this. So I'm going to spend a hope. I'm going to add a d6 of damage to it. So let me roll this first. It's going to be 21 plus a d6. So plus 6, so 27 points of damage.
27 is just shy of its severe, but it's going to make that is going to deal 2 points of damage as a major wound.
It's going to be pushed out of melee range, and it's also going to be marked vulnerable.
All right. So both of you kind of taking this kind of aspect. You're able to, I'll say with that, you shoving him back and almost sending that vulnerability back out him, recognizing him for the fear creature that it is. You are no longer marked as vulnerable as it transports over to him. With that being said, he is going to make a move. He's going to attempt to get back into your mind. I'm going to spend a fear, and I need you to make a presence reaction roll for me once again.
Okay. Can I, now that I've seen this happen, can I use an experience? Can I use I see through you as a way
certainly.
to see what he's trying to do now?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be, that's still not that great. We marked as hope. So it's 9 plus 2. Math is hard. 11 plus another 2, so 14.
14 still is shy of its difficulty score. As you attempt to fight through it, he does mark you, but knowing the battle, you are currently unstoppable, correct?
Yeah, I am. Yes.
So as you do so, this vulnerability continues to press through. You now still have the advantage. Him recognizing that he cannot break past your mental fortitude, you have an opportunity to strike. Go ahead and do so if you wish.
Yeah, if he's still at a distance, I will close the gap and I'm going to make another strike at him.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, that is a... Oh, not good. That is a 12 with
12
fear.
With fear, I will take that again. 12 with fear is not going to strike. He kind of places his claws up and parries your attack and is going to make an attack roll towards you once more. That is going to be a plus 4. That's a 13 to hit.
That hits.
13. That's going to be a total of 14 points of damage.
Okay. Half because I have resistance to physical. And I will...
And you're also stalwart, right?
Yeah, that's yes, I am also stalwart. So that means always reduce it by your armor score before. So it reduces to 11 by 11, which is 0. So now that's 0 damage.
All right. You ready and prepared to fight on this creature. It's now your move.
Okay, I'm actually going to use Goad them on. So I'm going to make this presence roll. And that is really good. That is a 24 with fear. I'm giving you fear though. It's okay. I'm basically gonna say this thing is like, we are not here to cause any harm. We're here to pass. But if you attack him, you attack me. Yeah.
He notices this and recognizing your intent of. Does that mean I'm now focused on you?
So yeah, so you mark a stress, and the next time they act, you have to target me with disadvantage.
Ooh, okay. So its eyes were set currently on the halfling behind you, but then turns over to you and is just going to make another strike towards you. I'm going to spend that fear as well. That is going to be and I think this one's actually missed, a 7 to hit.
Hits.
A 7 does hit. Okay.
Mhm.
So with that, that's going to be a total of 16 points of damage.
Okay. I will mark an armor and take 0.
Okay.
11 armor score because I minus at 11.
Yeah.
Plus resistance plus armor slot.
All right. This unsure as to what exactly to do, not being able to penetrate through your defenses, you have this opportunity where it kind of is still scatterbrained. It is still marked vulnerable at the moment.
Okay. Yep. I will go ahead and make another forceful push attack at it. That is a 13 plus 4, 17 with fear.
17 is going to hit, and fear is I'm going to tie it as I take that.
I will spend a hope to make the forceful push. That is going to be 17 points of damage to it. Yeah, accessible with hope. Yeah. So I don't get the extra d6 that time.
17.
So yeah, 17 total.
That is going to be that is going to be a major wound, as it does pass its major threshold. It not really. Are you finding a little bit of a footing? You have your movement, or turn still sits on you.
Okay. Yeah, I will just continue to push the attack. I'm just going to keep him as far away from the halfling. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to turn and look. Is there anything? I'm going to take a look at the halfling. Is anything happening? Is he still just kind of laying?
He's currently stable at the moment, though currently just kind of fearful. He has like the moss pressed against, and he does have like a dagger, but his hand is shaking, as he's not someone who's found himself on the front lines very often.
Can I hear anything else? Do I hear any other movement aside from this immediate adversary?
Yeah, go ahead and make for me an instinct roll then.
Okay, that's 18 with fear.
18 with fear. It's almost like there is in the silence, as this thing just continues to heavy breathe, there is something unsteady with this creature's voice, as there's almost like a clicking on the back of his mouth.
Okay.
Doesn't seem natural.
Okay. I will use my reach because I have very close as a reach. I'm going to actually make an attack, just a normal attack at him this time. That is not going to hit. That is a 10 with hope.
Okay, go ahead and add that hope. It is not going to hit.
And then I'm going to actually retreat back till I'm about 10, 15 feet away from the halfling.
Yeah.
And to kind of keep guard.
Recognizing that his strikes aren't penetrating, he's going to take a different approach. He almost shifts his form into the shadow and is going to just attempt to phase through you. That's a natural 1, which I think is going to miss. Describe to me how you describe to me how you deflect this attack from this being that did cost me 2 fears.
So I think as you see him begin to shift, I think one of the last parts that will actually phase is basically the claws or the hands, and I'm gonna basically just grab at the wrist and just throw him back in front of me before he was able to shift fully.
Grabbing a hold of him, throwing him down onto the ground, his body kind of scatters as what sits before you is not at this point the creature that once struck. It's instead this kind of fairly like frail and fragile, like almost skeletal, but still having meat on the bones, Wendigo type individual. Kind of scurrying back. What are you?
Just a passerby. You don't have to do this. Just let us go. We mean no harm to this forest. We were just passing through.
As it begins kind of scooting itself back up, it says, you may pass. You may pass. As it just scurries off on its own. You turn and look over to the halfling man that you have been escorting. He just turns. I'm so glad that you're the one taking me.
Let's get moving, and I'm going to kind of scoop him up, almost essentially just kind of football carrying him and get out of the immediate vicinity.
Yeah. Running forward, the light eventually from the sky passes as the clouds pass, and the moonlight shares its graces with you. You begin running, and over the next course of the next couple days, hours, you make it to your destination with this individual. He thanking you for the trip, and once again just providing safety. Then it still does ring into your minds once more what exactly you encountered and why it preys on those who enter into its woods. That being said, that closes out our encounter. So, that's our first episode of Duality. I'm excited to see what other guests we end up having on the show in the future. But before we close out, are there any final thoughts, any shout outs, any plugs that you want to do, AJ?
Not outside of our normal. Obviously, BladeBound Saga. We're on YouTube, and join our Discord. We'll have all those links below, I assume. And no, that's it for me. I appreciate you guys for hanging out and listening.
Yeah. As always, once again, just what AJ said, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of Duality.
From ink and steel, stories are forged. We are BladeBound Saga.